Hi everyone, it's Dominic Aforza. Today we're going to talk about the outlook for software, in particular how software is going to evolve and change in the consumer products industry. And of course, for us, that's all about go-to-market, sales, category management, trade promotion controls and such like. Now, according to McKinsey, the application of vertical AI, that's AI that has been driven at very specific use cases, is going to have a 40% impact on productivity. And when you hear numbers like this, I'm always, the skeptical part of my personality comes out, like, really? Come on, 40% is a lot. But I'll have to say to you, we'll get into the reasons why. Our own experience at Aforza with Ava, Aforza vertical AI, shows that customer case studies and projects, we're seeing numbers, and we've even seen one project at 50%. So these kind of numbers are highly achievable and feasible in 2025. But let's look at things and get into the content and look at the entire market and what's going on. So I'll do a brief introduction to Aforza, and then we'll do the market, future investments, look at the challenges and opportunities that this is going to lead to, the kind of technology you should expect, and then we'll look at things like adoption. Very frequently I get concerns raised to me about the adoption, particularly with different generational attitudes to this technology, and then we'll do finish up some recommendations. All right, so Aforza. Well, Aforza is a vertical SaaS company. We're completely dedicated to consumer products, food, beverage, healthcare, household, premium products like whiskey and beauty products, and so forth. And we support direct and indirect routes to market for everything from telesales to key account managers, retail execution, trade promotion management, DMS and beyond. We're built on the platforms of Salesforce and Google, so think of it as being on the shoulders of cloud computing giants, fully mobile and offline on Apple and Android. And you see this on this right-hand side of this chart. You can see like the spectrum of all the roles we support, but you also see this hot pink cylinder in the middle, Ava, Aforza Vertical AI. It's like the boats in a harbour. Vertical AI lifts all the boats like an incoming tide, and all these capabilities get magnified. And as we get through the content, it's going to become very, very clear why that happens. We're trusted by leaders globally, from companies like Suntory Global Spirits, Heineken, L'Oreal, and many globally famous brands, which we're very grateful for their partnership. Aforza in 2025 has been doing rather well. This deck is not really an advert for Aforza, but just in brief, we've done some incredible things, going live with Lego, which is an amazing brand. Edrington went live across 39 markets. AG Barr, that we'll talk about more in this video, achieved a 50% increase in productivity using vertical AI. We released technology for claims processing and many, many product breakthroughs, everything from disaggregation engines, for those of you who know about such things in trade promotion management, to building the fastest sync engine in the Salesforce ecosystem. And we get accolades from Gartner and POI and different analysts. So lots of good things going on. And if you're interested in that, please reach out or go to our website to learn more. But let's get back to the content at hand. Let's talk about what is going on in this industry, what's happening in the market, and what's going on with regard to investment in technology. Well, the consumer products world, it's spending more and more, and actually at quite a rate, on software. In fact, if you look at it today, you're spending more than as an industry worldwide, more than $26 billion is being spent on software for all sorts of different reasons. And if you look at this chart that's come from apps around the world, you can see that in the next few years, that number is actually going to go way over 30 billion to, by 2029, be more than $33 billion. And you can see the rankings of the top vendors in the space, all the kind of software companies that you probably have heard of, everyone from Microsoft all the way through to Dassault and Blue Yonder here on this chart. I think what's also interesting is to look at the year-on-year growth and the rate of change of some of these vendors as well. All right, now, and those 10 vendors constitute about 50% market share of that rising number of that $30 billion. So there's a heck of a lot of money and investment going on. But what's it going on to? Like, where is this money actually flowing inside these vendors? And this is where it gets quite interesting, because today, in 2025, this is the year of the crossover. When we look at all of the money being spent on software, and when you, like if you're watching this and you're a consumer products company, you're thinking about your own IT spend, it is highly likely that this year is a transition point where what you're buying from these vendors is crossing over from where, the way Gartner puts it, software without Gen I is the majority to when it becomes the majority. And this is kind of interesting, right? So if you think about it, for every $100 that you're spending, more than $50 of it now is on software, where Gen AI is becoming the majority of that software product in the way it works. This is kind of a really interesting thing. So if you start of this presentation, I think many of you will be either AI advocates or AI skeptics, or probably majority is people somewhere in between. But whatever your point of view is, one of the things about it's really important, this is probably one of the most important charts in this entire deck, is that you cannot escape it. It will be there. It's going to become increasingly hard to actually buy software that does not have it in it, right? So it's kind of amazing. And if we look at different industries and their adoption of AI, and the way the McKinsey score it, consumer product goods companies actually rank at the lower end of this chart at 31. My industry, high tech, does rather well, perhaps not surprisingly, but we're also willing to call out the retail industry is also very mature compared to other sectors in adopting this technology. Now, this chart requires a bit of explanation. What are the innovation triggers for change? And I want to call out 5 specific things that Gartner said with regard to artificial intelligence that I think are important. The first one I'll call out is domain-specific Gen AI models. This is really, really important for consumer product companies. Think of it this way. When you do generative AI, it's not a question of just opening Microsoft Word or something and say, hey, help me write a report or write a document or write a letter in kind of a generic horizontal use case. What we're talking about here is very specific, domain-specific use cases and data. So this is when we run AI on things like trade promotion spending, or whether we do it on our sales planning and all the different facets of that, whether it be visits or objectives and many different things we want to do. And this is a very important thing for Aforza, because we don't just do AI for the sake of AI. We have pre-built agents that are obviously working on domain specificity. This is really important. The second thing we kind of touched on already is the idea of Gen AI enabled applications. People want ready-to-use applications that solve real problems. They don't want DIY frameworks that they're going to build themselves. So this is why we believe that having pre-built agents that are effectively supported software products that work out of the box and are instant on becomes very, very important. So this is kind of a key part of the thing, because time to value in this world and ability for it to work in a very advanced and specific way for your industry is very, very key. It's a trigger for change. The third reason may seem kind of obvious, but is key, because not all systems will work this way, but multimodal generative AI becomes important. And in the consumer products industry, the use of imagery, photographs, video is key. It could be everything from taking a photograph of a back bar, perhaps, or something like the bottles of spirits in a hotel bar, or it could be a planogram type thing in a retail environment in a supermarket. But the use of AI together with photos and video is key, and voice and text must work together to spot issues and guide action. And a big thing for us is the ability to talk to AI. Like we have, the people that you in the consumer products industry that are out there in the fields, doing merchandising or stocking shelves, whatever they're doing, those people are busy and they work hard, and they're not there to be computer scientists. If they want to just talk and update notes and ask for help or reschedule visits and things, that voice interface becomes important. Retrieval augmented generation, this is important. This is having the specific pre-built software functions that call into the data and actually are able to produce results. Let me give you a couple of examples. An example might be, what are the 5 visits I have planned for today? Or what are the top 3 performing promotions in a particular retail outlet? The ability for the AI engines not to guess and hallucinate, but to use pre-built functions to actually gather the answers that you need. And that fits into, of course, number 5, which is orchestration framework. Because not only do I want to get the data, but I want to take actions on it. I'm not feeling well right now. I need to reschedule all my visits. What visits are planned this week? Please reschedule them to who's available on my team based on their calendars and their locations. That's not only doing retrieval augmented generation, it's also pushing results back. Please scenario plan promotions where I want to increase profitability by 10%, not just getting data and scenario planning, but then creating draft promotions to push it back, push the data back, and to actually take action. And if you take the combination of these innovation triggers 1 to 5, now that it sounds like, if you look at them the way it's written on the slide, it feels a bit like a computer science type slide, but if you put them in context as I described them, you can see why this is going to be so important to the consumer products industry, especially in the go-to-market arena. Which actually, on this other McKinsey chart here, is kind of borne out. So if you think about where the bang for your buck is, where the impact is going to be across your organization, whether it be manufacturing or product innovation, supply chain, and so forth, the biggest payback, according to McKinsey, is in the customer and channel management. In fact, if you look at this chart, the worst case example on the chart is actually better than the best case in many of these other domains, which is actually kind of incredible to me. And this data you're looking at is based on a model of a $10 billion company. So, probably speaks to many of the people watching this video today. Now, what is fueling this? Why is this happening? Well, the level of venture capital that is being deployed for AI is the numbers are mind-boggling. But one of the things that's kind of interesting is that 40% of all the VC dollars in 2025 have gone so far to 10 startups that are on the slide here. This is sourced from Silverwood Ventures. I think this slide is kind of interesting data. So people are familiar with probably OpenAI and Anthropic, but there's actually a lot of other companies here you can just look at to keep an eye on. This is really, really interesting. These people are growing at phenomenal rates. And the numbers, you can see here, that they've raised a total of $118 billion in these companies. And then if we go to this slide, this is something that I also find absolutely fascinating, is, we look at the sheer volume of venture capital that is going into AI. So 1 in 3 VC dollars now flows into AI. When I first heard this stat, I was thinking, really? Is that so impressive? But they don't mean 1 in 3 software dollars. They mean 1 in 3 everything. So think of it as venture capital for agriculture, for life sciences, for, geology. Whatever the investment is, 1 in 3 of those dollars on this planet flows into AI. That's kind of a phenomenal statistic. I think it leads to the fact that, it enforces that thing I said earlier on the Gartner chart. Even if you are a skeptic, it's kind of impossible to avoid it. But if you are a skeptic, stay with me, please, because I'm going to show you more stats and evidence as to explain why AI is actually making the impact that it is. It's going very quickly becoming a very real and very usable product again. And this data, which I think was from from Stripe, just goes to show what I think people know. If you have AI technology, your company probably grows significantly faster than those that don't. Okay, challenges and opportunities. Well, today, if we think about people let's take key account managers in a consumer product company, the painful truth is it's still really, really hard. And this is kind of amazing to me, but even companies like this is Salesforce survey data, point out that 2/3 of key account managers, key account managers lose 2/3 of their time to manual admin. I mean, this is 2025. I mean, it's just mind-boggling in an era where CRM tools are so modern and can achieve so much. Most of the people using them today still are losing time with admin. It's kind of mad, but unfortunately, this is the feedback that's true. And if we look at stuff from Nielsen says 60% of promotions, which is of course many hundreds of billions of dollars every year, still not delivering an ROI. And McKinsey, I think it says 70%, if I'm right, if my memory serves correctly. Whatever the number actually is, the truth is it's not good. And many companies almost have just given up and accept it, which is really quite sad, to be honest. It doesn't have to be that way. And then if we look at the Promotion Optimization Institute, they'll tell you that things about execution gaps, or things that happen at the point of execution, in the stores, in the bars, in the hotels, in the HoReCa, or wherever it might be that your product ends up, the gaps in execution erode trust. So 21% of promotions just aren't effective due to poor compliance. So whenever you look at it, it's poor compliance, poor execution, loads of admin, right? And in 2025, for it to be this way is kind of like, it's just not good, is it? So that's the reality of it today. But I think that this is a once in a generation chance to really make a significant difference. And I want to talk specifically about our vertical AI here, Ava, Aforza vertical AI. So we're going to see a couple of examples in a moment of what impact Ava can have. But think of it as, you don't think of it as a software product. I want you to grasp the concept. Think of Ava like somebody you might employ. And this is why this slide is kind of meant to be like she has a CV. So we often say, and we kind of say it started off as a little bit as a sort of humorous joke, but it's not humorous, it's actually a thing. You don't really buy Ava if you wanted to buy her from Aforza. You hire her. Think of her like an employee in your workforce to help you. She has spent her whole life working as a coach in the consumer products industry. She's going to be the #1 expert in your company at commercial planning and execution. She's going to drive massive productivity gains for everybody, from managers to individual contributors. She's got a deep knowledge of all your customers in the market and how to get the most value from them. And she just makes really good commercial decisions on price, promotion, assortment, trade terms, and more. And here's the thing. Ava doesn't sleep. She doesn't get ill. She doesn't take holidays. She's omnipresent, always on. I once described Ava in a customer meeting, and somebody shot back, sounds like me, which I thought was really quite funny. All right, okay. So that's the idea. So let's just get a bit of a view of how this might be. So let's imagine you're a mobile user and you're on your iPhone here on your cam, and up comes a notification. Something's proactively telling you there's a drop in sales and volume for our Fresh Start National this week. That's one of the stores we work with. And we open the alert and we can see the changes, something's going on. We can ask Ava, and Ava's here to help you. And we're a split screen here to show you the mobile experience and a traditional desktop experience in parallel, so you get a sense of it's almost like, I think when you look at the mobile view, it's almost like hard to believe it's all coming true. So we kind of did this on purpose so you can see both at the same time. So, what promotions are we running at Fresh Start National? And you can see here that we've got 3 distribution gap, green life discounts, new brand activations, 3 account promotions running in that calendar. And you can see on the mobile view, it's come back and told us exactly the same information. And we can then drill into these. We can see the statistics on their performance, and the same information is available on the mobile as on the desktop, of course. And I can then ask questions and interact with it. It can be like a coach. So based on based on the performance of all these promotions, what should I pause? What should I extend? And it's going to do the analysis, and it tells me, it recommends pause the new brand. Let me go back a second. Pause the new brand activation, extend green life discounts, coffee and tea. But what if I pause that new brand activation promotion and extend the green life discounts, what's the impact going to be this year? And it's going to figure it out for me. By pausing it, you're going to maintain a net revenue of $5.5 million a month. And it lets you focus on more profitable promotions, reducing the less performing one. Would you like me to action these changes? Now, in real life, of course, you probably put this through some sort of approval cycle and some sort of checks and balances. But effectively, you can then execute these changes and you can see on the right hand side, you can see that the green life discounts did in fact extend, and you can see that the status on the new brand activation is also paused. All right. And another example is we've talked about the impact of multimodal. So we could perhaps be in the store, we could be taking photographs, there's real-time visibility into store compliance now about that promotion execution. And we can see that all the photographs and imagery is being geotagged and watermarked. But now we also have an instant understanding of product availability, and we can see the full retail scene. And you can see on the left-hand side, again, I can interact with Ava to actually get some summation of what's going on with these assets, detect brands, do the out of stock percentage and such like on the left hand side, and it can tell me the answers and see the impact of the share of shelf with graphical support on the desktop view, and real-time competitor brand detection as well. So all these capabilities are there, and the thing to understand with this is what you saw wasn't just image recognition. It's the ability to transition from image recognition to scenario interpretation. Understand holistically what's going on in your scenario, and then take real-time automation, real actions on the back of it. And you can see in this diagram, you have the multimodal input feeding into the Aforza Studio architecture with all the different partners and things that work in there, like Neural Labs, like Parallel Dots, Salesforce Service Cloud, ServiceNow, for instance. And then real-time automation to recommend what visit tasks, perhaps you've spotted this hygiene issue, you have to do some training or something with people, you have to schedule deliveries, maybe you launch a competitive promotion because of this, or raise a service ticket because something's broken, whatever it might be. All those actions can now be automated based on scenario interpretation. This is very important. So going back to those problems we talked about, you can see we're flipping from too much admin, more customer selling time. Can't get repeatable promotion ROI? Now you can. You're giving people the ability to inspect and control in real time. And then, of course, execution gaps. Flip that now to have a much more higher degree of trust of retailers and get that promotion compliance to work spot on. Now, one of the things that this is changed a bit, but I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit to 2024. When I talked to customers in 2024, there was a lot of apprehensions, obviously a lot of hype around AI, and so one of the objections I would frequently get was, Dominic, you don't understand our sales team. They're of a certain age and demographic. They've been doing this for 20 years. They've got fat thumbs. They don't necessarily like technology. They just want to get on with their jobs, do it well, get paid well, and get home at the end of the day, sort of thing. Well, I think the reality is it hasn't worked out that way. Those kinds of objections seem to fade. I've got a couple of thoughts about why. The first thing I want to say is, like, with this case study we have where we worked for partner Neural Labs for AG Barr, the feedback from AG Barr was that the field teams were 50% more productive. And one of the things we noticed was particularly new employees who, just starting, low levels of training initially when they start, low levels of experience, just getting their initial training. When you have Ava with you, telling you what to do, to coach you, giving you blow-by-blow instructions, it really helps with new members of staff. So if you've got a large field force with high levels of employee turnover, this can be really helpful. This can both save you a fortune, but also just make people more productive, and time to productivity gets much quicker. And we had feedback. There's one lovely gentleman I remember from AG Barr was talking about how he was new in the company, and he was being interviewed, and he said, "What do you like about a job here?" "It's good pay, I get a company car, people are really nice, I get gym points." He said, "Oh, thank you very much. Was there anything else?" "Oh, yeah. I've got Ava. When I started, I was a bit nervous and didn't know what to say to customers. But with Ava, it's like my manager being with me every day to help me." I thought that was amazing. It's just incredible feedback. And in my long enterprise software career, I don't recall hearing stories about enterprise software, when did anyone ever go home to talk to their partner and say, "Oh my goodness, I had a wonderful day with this incredible new enterprise software"? It doesn't really happen. But with this kind of technology, you can actually really make somebody's quality of life go up. So one thing is, the adoption thing, it flipped from, it's not an adoption challenge, it's helping. And if you can talk to software and interact with it, you just think about it, you don't have to be an expert in trade promotion management systems to navigate umpteen levels of menu hierarchies and facets of it. If you can talk in plain English or Japanese or German or whatever language you wish to your vertical AI agent to help you. It's just going to be much better experience. And this feedback has been borne out not just by our customers, but you're seeing more and more analysts actually make this part of their review period, and it's a really key facets for how you evaluate modern technology. Okay. I think the other thing to consider, I won't dwell on this today, is not just is the technology there, but there's a couple of things you should think about. Number one is it instant on? Do I have to build it? Does it a product? I think that's very important. And the second thing is, I think you need to ask is does that company have a plan, a methodology to help you refine, tune, and understand and embrace it? I think that's an important thing. So I would say that as you go about now, because as we point out, all software is going to have AI in it. There's no escaping it. But then it becomes, how do you use it? How do you adopt it? And and how much work do you, the customer, have to put into it? Because, and that spans lots of things really if you think about it, because, what's my time to value? Is it a supported product? How do I pay for it? Is it aligned to my business model? Or, how do I make sure that I don't end up running up, burning through millions of tokens or messages or credits or whatever the model might be? How is it aligned to my business use? I think it's an important facet. And is it a support product? Because I think one of the things that could stall adoption with some of the mega vendors would be I have to customize and build my own agents, and then I'm unclear as to how I pay for it because it's based on a consumption model. Now, people will come up with ways to solve that, but it's going to cause a stall in adoption. So I think that, for example, if you look at Aforza, our AVA pricing is tied to use cases and outcomes, and not really tied to the consumption really very much at all. So I think the instant on product and the business model alignment means you get very specific use cases, which means you get very specific ROI, which means you get much better business case. I think that everyone will get there in the end, but I think that whilst people do this, there's probably going to be a period where they try to figure it out. All right, recommendations, just to finish this up. So I think that the conclusion really is this. The world is going to be very much a vertical AI world now, to be honest. The adoption will increase rapidly. I'm recording this in early September 2025. I can tell you that, as a rough guess, more than 90% of Aforza's customers are actively trialing Ava right now as I speak to you. Lots of interesting feedback coming back. People have very specific problems and challenges that they want to solve, but everybody is doing it, nearly everybody at least. And I think that everyone is about to go through a learning journey together. The technology vendors, the consumer product customers, our partners and alliances, the platform vendors. So one of the things I think is very important, what to recommend is definitely one, embrace knowledge. And there's I've put up on the screen here, join our Commercial Excellence Exchange. Come and join and be part of community along with Reckitt's, Cargill. We can see all the names, Mars, GSK, that are in that community. We put a lot of specialist knowledge in there and artifacts. This presentation is probably going to end up there. Come join that exchange. Certainly, I think keep very close to the development of vertical AI. And I think that probably sharing and learning together is very important. I would say one more point. I think that there's going to be a period, and I think it's coming probably the winter of 2025, where those that have vertical AI deployed are going to have significant business advantage over the laggards. Why did I say that? If our customers like AG Barr can get go check AG Barr's business performance. If they can get 50% productivity gain at time of speaking to you, right, that's a heck of a competitive advantage over the laggards that aren't doing it in their soft drinks world. So I think that there's a period coming where laggards who think they can build it themselves or they have a project schedule for 2026. I think we're looking for a 1 year, 18-month period where the laggards are probably going to come somewhat unstuck. I think we're going to see a lot of change. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on budgets and IT personnel in particular to try to perform to get the numbers that their peer group companies are getting. So definitely keep your ear close to this market. Join the community, and well, if anyone has any questions, feedback or thoughts, I'd love to hear more. And this is one of my favourite topics, so it'd be delightful to engage with you all. All right, hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for paying attention. Take care now. Bye bye.